going on, guys? Welcome back to Cross Platform, the show where we sit around in the darkness of a spare bedroom and talk about the week and stuff that we did and stuff that we saw and talk about The Walking Dead and pretty much anything we want to talk about at this point. So, I'm that one Heath here with Gordy Mills.
Hey.
Mike on Skype.
How's it going?
And we're going to go ahead and jump into a news story that I have been watching develop over the last, I guess, couple weeks. So we have the new Logan movie coming out in a week or so from now, depending on when this goes up. And and I'm super excited for this rated R X-Men Wolverine movie, Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine movie, supposedly. And it kind of made me started thinking about the Marvel universe as a whole, even though I know that's not necessarily part of the Marvel universe. Just how Marvel is getting it right when it comes to, Avengers and all of that stuff. And I saw this article about Ben Affleck and Batman in the DC universe that they're trying to build, and it just makes me shake my head because apparently Ben Affleck, who was supposed to direct a standalone Batman movie, and was very adamant about the fact that he was working on it because people were getting on his case, and he was on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever late night, and he was like, "Yeah, people, calm down, I'm working on it." Well, apparently that's not the case anymore. He is no longer going to be directing the Batman movie, because he didn't know if he was going to be able to balance physically getting ready for the movie and acting and directing, which I get, which is fine. But now all of a sudden it's coming out. Multiple people are saying from multiple sources that he doesn't want to be Batman anymore. And I don't know what that's going to do for the DC universe that they're trying to create, because you have the Man of Steel movie, the Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and then supposedly they're finished filming the Justice League movie with him as Batman.
So the idea with the DC universe is to have the same actors in the role.
Right, like Marvel.
Character.
Like Tony Stark and, But that would be, the DCU is getting so much flack anyways. Just people angry about different aspects of how each character is. And people didn't really like the Batman v Superman movie all that much. I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. I liked Suicide Squad. I may be in the minority on that. But it's not nearly as well received as the Marvel movies have been.
Now this is going to show...
Oh, I know you guys have no idea what I'm saying.
This is going to show how out of it I am on this. Did Ben Affleck play Batman in the Batman v Superman?
Yes, he was Batman in Batman v Superman, and he had a small role where he was Batman in the Suicide Squad movie.
So, I guess, in that sense, like, maybe I'm wrong, but when you sign on for something like that, that's sort of what you're agreeing to, is like all of the movies.
Right.
So, like...
And I don't know if there was anything in place that he's...
I guess I gotta say, like, if you don't want to do it, like, tough shit. Put your big boy pants on.
Right.
And do what you agreed to do.
And that's the thing. I don't really know. Something must have happened, or there's got to be something that we don't know in his life or in his mind, or he's gotten criticized for shitty movies he's been in before. So I don't understand what makes this any different. Maybe the nerd-osphere is more vocal and more
they'll rip him to shreds.
Prone to rage than, the Jersey Girl fans out there.
You screw over the nerdosphere.
Yeah.
That's like career ending.
We're a pretty forgiving bunch when you think about it, really. But yeah, I want these movies to succeed. I want this universe to be built. I'm crazy excited for the Justice League movie. And I was really excited for the Batman movie, but nothing's set in stone. But there was an article I was reading where someone was saying that multiple sources told him that he's not sure if he wants to be Batman anymore. And I don't know if he has any recourse in getting out of it. I don't know, because Marvel guys, they're signed up to do X amount of movies in their contract. If you're in something like that, I don't understand why you would want out of a money making.
It's not guaranteed work.
Right, exactly.
It's job security
Yeah.
there.
But I'm not in the movie business. I don't know the stresses or the
Yeah.
stuff that comes with that. But being Batman, I mean, come on.
I get the impression that some of these big name actors take on the attitude that the movie industry needs them and not the other way around.
Right.
And that like they're the talent, they're the sought after, they're the demanded product, and then they get to start making all these demands.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess I've always sort of pictured him as one of those A-listers
Sure.
that, like requests a certain color Skittle, a bowl full of green
Right.
Skittles
I only want
in
green
his trailer,
Skittles.
or something like that.
Right. And the flip side of that coin is new Batmans aren't a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
There have been so many Batmans.
Right.
And back in the, Keaton, Val Kilmer,
Yeah.
George Clooney, nobody thought anything of,
A
that
different
was
Batman every movie
right,
was a
that
thing.
was
that was
a-
like the
that was
expectation.
a one universe thing. It was all in the same, sphere,
Mhm.
but different Batman. So nobody thought anything of that, which I think says a lot about how the film industry has changed with building these universes, like the Marvel universe, the DC universe, the new. I read this a long time ago, and I don't know if it's still the case or not, but the new Tom Cruise Mummy, the Mummy movie that's coming out
Mhm.
this year, is supposedly well, at least from what I read a year or so ago, was supposedly supposed to kick off the Universal monster universe, like the Mummy, Frankenstein, Creature from
Right.
Black Lagoon, Dracula, and it's supposed to build from there, adding more and more monsters into this shared universe, which I think would be awesome, by the way. But yeah, the fact that he may not be Batman for some reason really upsets me, even though I grew up in the many different Batmans genre of movies. I don't know why. Thinking about it after I got all angry, and I was like, well, hey, there have been a ton of different Batmans and nobody cared before. But I don't know, it's different ball game, it seems like these days.
So DC is what? Batman?
Batman, Superman, Green
Spider-Man?
Lantern, no Spider-Man. Oh
No
my god.
Spider-Man.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. We just lost.
But that's another franchise that like has just thrown different actors at the role.
Right. But
hoping
they're
that
bringing
one
Spider-Man, because, Marvel, Spider-Man, and X-Men have been separate up until recently, where Spider-Man was in the most recent Avengers movie. Because
Oh, okay.
Spider-Man was owned by Sony, X-Men is owned by Fox,
Gotcha.
Marvel's owned by
That's so
Disney.
weird.
I know. But now they're all starting to play nice. Or at least Sony and Disney are. So there's going to be, the next Spider-Man movie is going to be in the normal Marvel universe. And
Right.
hopefully someday they'll be able to bring in the X-Men once they realize they keep making shitty X-Men movies. But apparently the reviews that I've been seeing for the new Wolverine movie, Logan, are really positive. Rated R, and the way Wolverine's always have meant to be.
Right.
So I'm pretty stoked about that. But yeah, it's I don't know. I really don't know. This could be a dagger in the heart of the DC universe if Ben Affleck doesn't continue Batman, because I think the continuity is important. But
Or maybe it's just fake news to get people to talk about it.
that's yeah, maybe, who knows? Or he's butthurt about the fact that his Fly By Night movie bombed so hard
Did
that
you
he
just say
doesn't
fake
want to
news?
do anything for anybody anymore. But who knows? So next thing I wanted to bring up, I saw this article, and Mike, I think you said you saw it too. there was a gentleman rugby player from I forget where,
Australia.
yeah, who let his young son play this online video game, and it's kind of like a Minecraft clone, from what I understand. But I saw a picture of it, and it's it's kiddie. It's not like Call of Duty. It's cartoony graphics with blobby people and blah blah blah. I don't know anything about the game. I don't know what you're meant to do, but it's apparently a Second Life Minecraft type thing. So apparently his young son was getting solicited sexually in this game, and I forget exactly how the father found out about it. But basically he was shocked and appalled and confused and angry, and went on and started playing the game, and went into a chat room, and somebody asked the age old question, A/S/L,
Mm-hmm.
and he told him he was however old his child was, and they went into a private chat room, and sexiness ensued. And
wow.
yeah, so I guess my main thing, I don't have any kids. I know that that's not okay, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But with this day and age of the internet being all surrounding all, and in every part of life at this point, you guys do have kids, and I'm curious how you feel about, or how you monitor the activity that they, you know, or how you will handle it when the time comes.
Right.
So yeah, how do you combat something like that?
Well, I know Mike and I have kids in the same age group, and I don't think they're exposed to that yet. We kind of
I'm sure he didn't think so either.
well, right, but like they don't have their own device. They have games that we've given them to
Mhm.
play. Like Mike's daughter's 3. She's what, 6? Is she 6 months younger than
She's
Shar?
born in September, so
Okay, yeah. We were June, she was September, so 3 months. Um, yeah, and so we give her Netflix and sometimes some Daniel Tiger apps. That's PBS.
Mm.
I know there's going to be some good stuff there, for kids her age. And the big thing is that it's not a social app. They don't let them communicate. Mike, you've probably experienced similar.
yeah, I mean, well, everything that my daughter does is heavily filtered. I mean, I have one TV in my whole house. I'm a nerd, but at the same time, we keep electronics to a bare minimum.
Right.
Mm.
And we grew up on online games. We know what's out there. So I feel like we're going to be a lot better at filtering that type of stuff. Whereas when these articles come out, the parents of these children probably never played games, probably don't know, what the online world is like, and they don't pay attention to labels. The ESRB labels specifically state online play is not rated
And
because you can't control online play.
That's a huge factor there.
Mm.
And basically, yeah, basically what it's saying is these ratings labels are rating the content of the game itself. And I think that gives the parents kind of a lot of room to make their own decision on whether they think
assuming that they
appropriate or
look
not.
at the fact what the rating is.
Well, right. And for the most part, I'm okay with some cartoon violence or some animated blood or whatever. It's not like Mortal Kombat style
Sure.
finishing moves. But everything there says, online interaction's not rated. What
Right.
that's basically saying is you can socialize in this game. It's basically the Wild West out there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I've got my stepkids, 11 and 13. The 13-year-old just turned 13 last month. And that was sort of the point that we decided you're old enough to like start getting into social media.
Mhm.
We let him get a Snapchat.
That's
but
the Wild West.
that is the Wild West.
Whew.
But we monitor who he follows, who
Mhm.
he, yeah, like we look at his list of followers, and it's all like family.
Yeah.
11-year-old.
But you can delete conversations.
Well, conversation goes away on its own. But I don't think we would have any problems with him. The only kind of like the only things that have like raised our eyebrows is that like he'll play a game completely innocent, and there might be something in that game that's like, wait a minute, this isn't an appropriate game. And the first one that comes to my mind was Who's Your Daddy? Have either of you seen that game?
No.
It was
No, but
you know the game, right? No?
it doesn't sound appropriate
Okay.
for children.
Oh, no,
Right.
it's good. This is one that came from a Reddit thread that was what video game doesn't exist but needs to. And it was the top comment, and it was basically one player is the parent and one player is the kid. And the parent is running around like one player is the parent, one player is the baby. And the parent is running around trying to childproof the house while the baby is running around trying to basically get itself killed by like getting into the chemicals under the sink or like sticking its fingers in the toaster or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's seeming, I mean, it's like fairly innocent, like he and I have played it together.
That's been
And-
pretty dark premise.
I mean, kind of, but it's entertaining,
Yeah.
to say the least. And we were watching a YouTube video of these other people playing, and they're playing along and they're going through this house, and they go into the parents' bedroom and open up the bedside table and pull out a dildo. And me, like, I'm watching it, my father-in-law's over there watching it, and we're both like, oh no. And he's like, what? Like, this isn't appropriate. He's like, what is it? What?
You shouldn't
so,
have.
like-
You shouldn't have acknowledged that it was happening.
Right. He had no idea.
Right.
He's the good kid. He's like,
Yeah. So was I at one point.
the 11-year-old. We have to actively like keep her off of anything socializing.
Yeah.
We approve all of the apps that she can download. One of them was this game. She was playing this game. It seemed innocent enough. It was like one of those, back and forth like card style games.
Mm,
I had no idea that it had chat
okay.
until she was like messaging with a friend of hers. The friend was over at our house. They were messaging with a mutual friend of theirs who we also know the parents of. And they ended up getting in a fight over chat. And my 11-year-old, well, the other girl wanted to take a picture of herself flipping off the camera to send it. And my 11-year-old said, no, just say F asterisk 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 U. And so they did. And then I guess the girl that they sent it to showed her parents, and her parents called our parent,
Oh my gosh.
called me and my wife. And
That's just girls. Girls are
well,
mean.
it is. But when she told us, like, we're like, how did you know about that?
Yeah.
Because we don't really talk like that around them, and we certainly don't type like that around them.
Right.
And she said that she sees it in that game that she was playing. We're like, you're not playing that game anymore.
Mm.
And so, yeah, that was sort of one of those wake up calls. We've told the kids, like, if you do anything like talking to any other person, don't give your name,
Right.
your age, your location, none of that.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty safe, but
Yeah. So that's the thing, the internet now and the internet when we were growing up, because I think our generation is the most just fascinating from where we were to where we are now.
yeah. And maybe that's why we feel like it's still innocent, because
Oh, I didn't know.
like
I know what I was doing on the internet
I
back
was
then.
well, I know I got in on the ground floor.
Right.
Maybe not the ground floor. I wasn't using what were those called? IRC. I wasn't doing like IRC chat or anything, but I got on ICQ
Mm.
back when it was like early on. I think I had a 6 or 7 digit number. Now
I
they're
can
like
still hear that stupid ding in my head.
Dude, I just remember signing into AOL, listening to it scream at me,
yeah.
and the first like screen that you can click chat rooms, and you can click, TV, movies, sports,
Oh right.
news,
Yeah.
games.
That's
I would always go into movies. I would always go into horror, and just all night long chatting to who knows.
right.
And I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I never took part in the age, sex, location chats. And for all I know, I was a 45-year-old man, but it was fun at the time.
Right.
But and that's something because it was so new. My parents were learning the dangers right along with me,
yeah.
and I can't. I'm sure well, at least I hope, or I'm sure, and I don't know. Sorry, mom and dad, if you did have this conversation with me. I don't remember having the conversation about be careful who you talk to or make sure, because that wasn't a thing yet.
I did. We had MSN very early
Mm,
when it was sort of like Microsoft's answer to AOL.
yeah.
So we had like MSN dial up. Similar thing. They had chat rooms. I think I was like 12 or 13 and I went into a chat room and my dad was like sitting next to me and we were sort of both
Yeah.
he was I guess like showing me chat rooms or something and like we were both in there. So like he was sort of monitoring and that I guess it was that kind of like guidance and that's when he was saying like don't give any of your real information.
Right.
Don't tell anyone anything that could lead them to your front door.
Right. See,
Is
I don't
what
remember having those conversations. I'm sure they happened,
so
but I don't remember them.
he
They
told
didn't.
me that, but I didn't really think anything about it.
Right.
Um but that was also when I was much younger,
Yeah.
when I was 16 and 17 and getting into a lot of the things that I knew I shouldn't have done.
Right.
And, as I was getting into that kind of stuff, I was also getting into how to cover my tracks.
Yeah. See, I don't think I was very good at that, so I'm sure they knew. They had
I
to have
wasn't.
known.
My dad was in the tech industry. He was
Oh no, my
always a
parents
step
were
ahead
not.
of me.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's fascinating to me how we grew up with nothing, and then all of a sudden we had something, and now it's just exploded. And there's not going to be a generation like that ever again. If you think about it, there's nothing that will ever come along that will be as world altering as the internet.
I think AI will.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, do you mean AI or do you mean sentient AI?
Not even sentient, just AI in general, like when it actually becomes part of your daily life. Not necessarily that it's aware of itself, but just that it's doing everything for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be pretty
Fair, okay, I'll
changing.
give you that.
Well, is that going to be one of those overnight things the way the internet was? Or
But the internet wasn't overnight.
That's
it
true.
wasn't
Internet
it
started
wasn't
in the 80s.
literally
Yeah.
overnight, but like internet in the home. I mean, I would say within a 2 or 3 year
Oh yeah, one day
period.
it seemed like one day it wasn't there, and then it was everywhere.
Well, yeah, like you might have known someone that had AOL and you would go to their house to like look up websites that you found from like Nintendo Power
Exactly.
or Guitar World.
That's
or
exactly what I was
you
going to
had your
say.
notebook of websites that you wanted to go to the next time you had a chance.
Yep.
That was, I think, 6th or 7th grade for me. Fast forward to 3 or 4 years later,
Mm.
and I'm on a Roadrunner connection in my home, downloading songs on Napster.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, that was a huge leap from one to the other.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I haven't seen that kind of advancement in technology since. I think AI could definitely do that. I don't know about that quickly. If we're able to achieve, maintain, and control sentient AI, that will be
Yeah, I agree
just
with
as
that.
big.
I will
That
give you that. I concede that point. But so do you guys remember the first like online game you played where you were like legitimately back and forth with somebody?
with a total stranger or with just anybody that wasn't in your house.
Either.
Age of Empires,
Okay.
but you had to direct connect. Um, at least I had to direct connect with somebody. It
Mm.
wasn't like
Right. No. Yeah. I know
there
what you
wasn't
mean.
a server that you could connect to and just be matched with random players.
Right.
I think the first game I played that actually matched you with random players. I don't know what that one was. Maybe War Rock?
I
Just
remember
like a
mine.
shooter? Kind of like Battlefield?
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Counter-Strike, for sure.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably a lot of people's.
Like original, like source
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
data Counter-Strike.
Right.
So mine probably EverQuest.
Okay.
You know, the OG
Mm-hmm.
MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I didn't really get too deep into it. I just knew everybody was playing it, so I had to check it out. I don't remember having a whole lot of interactions or getting very far in it because it was way too nerdy for me at the time. Now I eat that shit for breakfast.
Right.
Warcraft took over my life there for, well, not really, but I played a lot of Warcraft.
Warcraft or World of Warcraft?
World of Warcraft. Yeah, sorry. But probably the one that sticks out the most, where I like cultivated the most like people that I talk to on a regular basis, the same people, was when Xbox Live went online. Me and Tyler played a shit ton of Ghost Recon,
Right.
and we used to play with the same like few guys. Had them on our friends list, and Lord Furious, and we called him the Make, but his name was the Mac. And he hated the fact that we kept calling him the Make over and over again. So if the Make, if you're out there, man, I remember you. It was awesome playing with you. I haven't seen you in forever. Lord Furious, who is someone I still see randomly, probably the online person I've known the longest. And I tell this story to a lot of people when they ask me about like gaming has impacted your life. I played World of Warcraft for a long ass time since vanilla World of Warcraft, and I stopped here recently. I still jump in every now and then, but right in that like real meaty time, I was diagnosed with cancer, which I'm sure we'll talk about in depth later in the other shows. Um, and I had to, obviously I had to go into the hospital and do treatment. I was in the hospital for a month initially, and I told my brother to log on to my World of Warcraft account and let my guildies know what was going on. And he did, and I was in the hospital for a while, and all of a sudden I kept getting like care baskets, like from like the nurse came in one time, and oh god, came in with this basket full of like weird Japanese chocolates, just like real nerdy, like out of left field candy. And she's like, "This is from somebody. This is from Cazadorus." And there was somebody's like, we never knew each other's like real names. We always called each other, farmer, or there's a guy farmers, or whatever. Mine was my character's name is Ramstein, so they always call me Ram.
Yeah.
So this other guy, we called him Kaz, so he sent it care of Kaz to the hospital, and or sent it to my brother. So, and he sent it to the hospital, and sent it to me. But yeah, I mean, you can build
That's awesome.
amazing relationships online, but it can also be a scary, creepy, touchy feely place if you're not careful.
Right.
And I'm glad I don't have kids, because it's hard to monitor all the time with stuff like that. But
Well, we see it as like, video games, and people who aren't video gamers, they don't really understand it, but I think a good analogy would be like, would you ever take your kid to a park, like say the size of, I don't know, Yellowstone, right? It's the size of Yellowstone. You can't see inside it whatsoever. but you let your kid through a door and then you can't see anything else. You're done. And you're trusting that nothing bad's going to happen and that nobody lied to get in there to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens when you let your kids play online games.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be on top of it and monitoring them. I mean, it's almost, I don't know, I'm gonna sound like an asshole for saying this, but it's almost as much fault as the parent for not
Oh,
being on top of
I
that
totally agree.
Oh, no,
as it
yeah.
is
No,
for the.
I 100% agree with you. It is, in the beginning,
I
the
just
kid
don't think
is
some parents.
right. The kids are innocent in this until they're not, and you have to catch that. And that's they don't know, and that's kind of on you to educate yourself and be
Right.
aware and monitor what's happening. But and it's hard, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's easy, but yeah, it's my parents didn't really. They knew I was a well-balanced individual. They didn't care what games I played. They didn't
Right.
care what chat rooms I went into. I mean, obviously they didn't want me looking up debbiedoesdallas.com or whatever, but they were there, they were present, but I still was able to get my hands on most of the stuff that maybe I shouldn't have, but you know you also have to gauge your child as well. If they can handle something, then you have to trust them as well. But when they're that young, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah,
But
but if you think your kid can handle, like, say, a violent game, you might not realize that there's stuff going on in the brain that you don't recognize right away.
sure,
There's ESPR ratings for a reason,
Right.
and I feel like, I don't care how advanced my child gets if she doesn't match the age on the box and she doesn't get it.
no, yeah. And my parents were. It's so funny that this kind of melds into another topic that I was talking to somebody earlier this week. How the movies have a rating system. Everyone understands rated R movies
Right.
and PG-13 movies and PG and G movies. Everybody, without even talking to anyone on the street, you could point to somebody and say,
There's
you know
a reason they made it R.
right.
Yeah.
And they know what it means.
Yep.
You show a parent an ESRB game rating, and most of them have no idea A, what it is, or B, what the range of the ones, at least the ones that don't have numbers attached to them.
I think I might know why there's that disconnect.
Mhm.
It's because they use M. They use the word mature,
Right.
which my wife and I were actually just talking about this earlier today. Not for video games, but for talking about the word maturity
Hmm.
and how I think everybody sort of has a different definition of what the word mature means.
Sure.
Um, and maybe because everyone's definition is so different, I don't know. Some people are like, "This says mature. I think my kid's mature enough to handle it."
Yeah.
But and maybe the fact that like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto 5
Vastly different.
way different.
Both
Like,
mature games, but
yeah, but if
I
I
would
was gonna,
classify
like,
one a little more differently than the
if
other.
there was a game that like, if I've got a 10-year-old and they happen to enjoy like military stuff or the military style game, I would be more inclined to let my 10-year-old play Call of Duty
Or Halo.
or Halo. Halo's a great example.
Yeah.
Than I would to let them play
Hot coffee.
Theft Auto
Grand Theft
5.
Auto. Yeah.
But they're still rated the same.
Right. Same. Or yeah. I totally. It's there's a wide margin. You're right. But we could probably talk about this forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a stop to this topic for now. I'm sure we'll get back into it at some other point. There's a lot to talk about. So now let's switch gears and kind of talk about tonight's episode of The Walking Dead. So obviously, spoilers if you haven't watched it yet. Go ahead and turn it off and turn this back on when you have watched it. So what do you guys think of tonight's episode as a whole? Starting off, just if you had to give it a grade.
A-.
It's a pregnant pause right there. People
Yeah.
thought their podcast stopped working.
Start checking their headphones.
What'd you?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on the long pause. What'd you say?
Um,
An A minus?
A minus. Yeah.
Mike, what do you think?
Man, maybe a B plus. How about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say a low B for me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they couldn't find a junkyard to stand Rick in front of.
Yeah. Oh.
Holy
yeah.
crap. The backdrop of a couple of the shots were so bad. I expect more out of you, Walking Dead. I know it's a small thing to bicker on, but as soon as that popped up, you and I kind of looked at each other, was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is an 80s movie.
Mike, you know what we're talking about?
You're talking about like the horrible CGI.
Yes.
Horrible CGI. Yeah.
Even my wife pointed that out. She's like, "That looks horrible."
They
Oh
must
my
have blown their
gosh.
budget on Carl's fake missing eye and
Yeah, they
and-
put
and
one too many
a CGI tiger.
one too many spikes in the zombie and then over budget. But yeah, that was pretty, and it didn't help the 80s synth music that was playing during the entire episode as well. But
I wonder if there's a new director.
yeah, I didn't look. I'm curious because there are a few episodes here and there throughout the entire season where they just feel off. And generally when I look back and it's like, oh, it's because somebody else did it or was in that weird transition period they had between first, second, and third seasons. But
I don't know, I really try to not consider the logistics of making the episode when it comes to like the grade that I give it. But
generally we don't have to because we don't notice anything
I
that
know,
bad.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I think about that stuff all the time, but yeah, that one.
There's a certain, uncanny valley
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
but once it's like right in your face, it's hard to ignore. You can
I
forgive
mentioned-
a bunch, but that was pretty blatant.
When Mike pointed out the guy popping up in the back of the car.
Yeah, which we
from the
both went
last
back and
episode.
watched, and we both don't know how we missed it.
Well, remember I said maybe it was a continuity error? And
Oh, yeah.
You guys are like, nah, they wouldn't
Right.
wouldn't miss something that big. If that was this week's episode, I wouldn't put that past them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if we saw the strings
Yeah.
when Rick fell.
So the episode kind of started off with the exchange with the saviors, the kingdom and the saviors.
Yeah.
Another hostile exchange, I guess.
Yep.
Because I mean, it was kind of the same thing that happened the last time, which kind of makes me wonder why they. I mean, it's obviously part of their deal, but why they have guns? Why they keep letting what's his nuts come back and aggravate the saviors? And why they're so lenient with the kingdom as opposed to Rick Group. If that would have happened with Rick Group, you think they would have just backed off and scolded the guy, and I feel like somebody would have gotten gutted or
I don't know. It's also
Shot.
different groups.
right.
It's different groups for each community.
Mm,
And so maybe they made the deal with that group
right.
that, you know what, we're providing you agriculture. That's
true.
That's the deal, and we'll meet you outside the walls. You keep us safe from anything getting on the other side of those walls, and we'll take care of everything inside here. You know, maybe if you're a big enough community, like they police themselves,
Yeah,
they need,
Yeah.
you know,
I guess.
And I think they get some favoritism too because of what they provide. Like last week we talked about they provided meat.
Right.
This week we saw it looked like it was either maybe water, gasoline, and watermelon,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
would be
Right.
hard to come by.
That's true.
So maybe they recognize the resources they're getting are special, so they get special rules.
Or maybe because they haven't seen their compound, they are not sure of their forces and they're not willing to take the risk of
That's a good point,
inciting
too.
violence.
well, I mean, they had to have come up with a good reason why they're allowed to have guns.
Right.
it sounds like the saviors maybe are starting to second, you know,
Yeah.
take a second thought at if they should be allowed to have guns.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see how the saviors found the kingdom and how they forced them into a deal,
Right.
since they've never been to their compound. I'm curious as to the backstory of how they met and came
Maybe
to
they
be.
think that is their compound.
I don't know. Um, and then you get so I can't remember his name. What's his nuts? Loses his gun.
Richard?
Richard loses his gun, goes and starts shooting bow and arrows,
Yeah.
and Daryl walks up. And I think the goal now for The Walking Dead is just every scene with Daryl to make me cry. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, when he picks up the bow, the crossbow, that got me in the feels.
Yeah.
It felt good. It felt good to me to have him reunited with his crossbow.
Heart swelled a little bit.
Heart swelled a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else? What was the next thing?
I feel like when he picked up the crossbow, that was the return of Daryl. That, like,
Yeah.
Daryl was back at that point.
He's been kind of diminutive and eyes down the last.
Yeah. It when Dwight took his crossbow originally, it was like he'd lost a part of himself.
Right.
And that may not have been his original crossbow, but he's got it back. Like,
Right.
he's got a crossbow back.
He feels complete.
I wanted to mention Morgan because he he like hit the guy's hand pretty quickly with his bow staff, and then they took it from him.
Yeah.
And he's still very much like, I don't know, no one needs to die, and maybe they're pushing him, and maybe that's what they're showing, but I really think his convictions, is that the right word?
Sure. Yeah.
Are going to become a huge problem.
Yeah. At some point he's gonna have to fully step into the ring, and I think they're just kind of building that to be, I mean, dramatic as it should be in a drama. And
Right.
but yeah, the fact that he actually physically hit one of these men just goes to show that he hasn't seen what we've seen.
That's true.
So
That
I
is
mean,
true.
I was thinking about that when he did it. I was like, oh shit, someone's gonna die, but he doesn't know. You know, he hasn't seen the way that they treat Alexandria
Mhm.
Alexandria and Hilltop. So
None of them have. Or maybe
No.
they have, but I
Yeah.
don't think they
and
have.
none of the people that come and pick up from the kingdom are the people that come to Alexandria, the
Right.
Hilltop. And those assholes are like real wound up. But and then you have Richard recruiting Daryl to try to incite the kingdom into fighting by sacrificing, we come to find out, Carol, by leading,
Which he thought was just some woman living in a
Right.
cabin by
well, no,
herself.
because he knew that Daryl might know her.
Yeah, he said, I hope you
Yeah.
didn't know her.
So he knew. And so they were going to attack a convoy that was coming down and then make it look really, really bad. And so the saviors that found them would come and try to investigate. And it was like he said, there was a trail leading back to this woman in a cabin. And yeah, Daryl was having none of that. So, and rightly so. I thought that was a really cool part of that episode.
Mhm.
A nice standoff. And I mean, not a bad plan, but probably not the smartest thing to do. The element of surprise would have been better than having to force the kingdom into fighting them and not even really knowing why they're being
Right.
attacked. But then we kind of get a look at the group that took Father Gabriel.
Yeah.
The Junkyard Gang, as I'm calling them. I don't
Mhm.
really know what else to call them. And they walk funny and they talk funny. And
They use hand signs.
They use hand signals.
I think this whatever happens in the fight with the Saviors is cool, but I think they're gonna become the Whisperers.
That's what I was kind of thinking too.
I really do.
You think they're gonna become what? Sorry.
The Whisperers. You probably don't know about the
Whisperers.
Whisperers.
So the Whisperers
I
are
don't pay attention to the comics.
yeah, the Whisperers are a group in the comics right now that are people who skin the dead and wear their faces
They wear their entire bodies.
and hide in the walking. They hide in
they
the
walk
herds.
amongst herds, and they very quietly whisper to each other. That's how they communicate, or they use hand signs. And they have a leader,
A female leader.
who's a woman, that goes by the name Alpha. And yeah, it's an interesting group.
And there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. Yeah.
And they're really like, they stick to this like code, like wolves. Like there's an
Mhm.
alpha and
Mhm.
a beta.
It's
Or
like,
an
yeah,
omega,
it's
or-
very, very primal,
Yeah.
very pack mentality.
And yeah, it's so yeah, kind of when they kind of came walking out of their underground little tunnel, and they were like walking all haphazard, but seemingly, knew what they
Organized.
were right.
Yeah.
Kind of made me think of they were, walking like the undead, and kind of made me think maybe they're would become the Whisper, and the fact that they have a female leader who
Now, when she came out and when it was clear that she was the leader, before I even heard her name, which Jadis, by the way, I'm noticing that, like, I think she's wearing a wig, and it almost looks like she's actually bald under that wig. Which
Yeah,
Alpha is also bald. So
she died to have a weird hairdo.
I think it's looking pretty.
This is
It's way out there.
broad speculation, but that is kind of what I think of. But probably because we're expecting at some point them to.
Yeah, they're probably painting that.
And that's the
picture
thing.
on purpose.
The thing with the Whisperers in the comics is they don't attack really. They stick to they have a quarantine off area that they stick to. They
Right,
don't
they have their boundaries.
right. They don't bother people
Yep.
unless they're bothered, which is kind of what the mantra of Jadis and her people were.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't bother.
That's true.
We take or whatever. So yeah, and then Rick had to prove himself, I guess. Got thrown into the Rancor
Gladiator pit.
got thrown into the Rancor pit, so to speak. But now I'm saying that out loud. You guys, not being Star Wars people, don't know what the hell that means.
Nope.
So, but yeah, so we got to see finally the spiky walker that they've been teasing since before the break, and
He has a name.
that's right. What was it, Randall?
Winslow?
Winston?
I think it was like Winslow. or
Yeah.
Windsor.
Wilson.
So
I meant to write it down and I forgot.
right. So I guess it was more of a pet to them than
Yeah.
or it used to be one of theirs, and
Oh, maybe.
so they
Something really bothered me about that scene.
a lot
Rick
bothers
is
me
a
about that
badass,
scene.
right?
Yeah.
But somehow he slams his hand through one of the spikes.
Right.
Like, how do you get that far, killing that many zombies, and yet somehow self-inflict that kind of wound on yourself?
Oh, there was. I had issue with that scene as well.
That whole junkyard scene was just. It almost seems like it was an afterthought.
Yeah, it didn't really fit.
No.
It was kind of clunky and weird, and
And all the
you're telling me that you thought picking up a keyboard and slamming it over a walker that had a metal head, and how's the zombie seeing him and attacking him? And
Right, that zombie was really
What else?
precise for
And
operating off
you've
of
seen
sense of
them-
smell.
you've seen them a million times take something sharp and shove it up,
Right.
underneath their jaw and kill them that way. And that zombie's jaw was perfectly exposed. You couldn't have yanked out one of his spikes and stabbed whatever. But yeah, that scene. As much of a badass as Rick is, it seemed like he wasn't thinking too clearly with that, because he put his hand through the spike and kicked him and cut his leg and whatever. And then to defeat the walker, he pulled the pulled trash down on him. That was, I don't know. I was hoping for something a little more climactic than that.
I was
But-
really hoping he was going to pull one of those spikes out and use it against the
Right,
walker.
that's what I was thinking. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that was a cool looking walker. I thought that was really neat. And it looked great. But come on, Rick. Give me a break. And all the while the 80s synth music playing in the background.
Yeah.
What else? What happened? So at some point, again, every time Daryl's on screen, has to make me cry.
Right.
And how Carol can't seem. She is the most popular alone woman I've ever met. So
I think she's got a soft spot for Daryl.
oh yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. But I'm saying that the kingdom shows up at her doorstep again, bringing her cobbler or whatever it was.
Yep.
And they're just leaving that dish there, that anchor baby. They got to come back for that dish at some point. So so that's another trip out to her place. I was like,
Yeah.
can I get my casserole dish back? Thanks, I appreciate it. I see what they're doing. I see through their tricks. And then they leave, and of course, knock on the door, and it's Daryl. And
Right.
when Daryl cries, the world cries, and it was a good emotional reunion, and it felt as good as I hoped it would feel. But part of me, when they were sitting there by the fire or whatever it was, and explaining to him why he left, it's like because she knew if something were to happen, she would have to kill everyone, and she
Yep.
would never come back from that. And then she starts asking in about if everyone was okay, and asked if the saviors came, and
Yep.
I was hoping that he would
Tell her.
tell her, because I
Yeah.
thought that just that reaction would be so, like, I don't want to say entertaining, but it would just feel good to have her know.
I
If that
think
makes any
she's gonna
sense.
know.
Yeah.
She's gonna find out, and it's gonna be Terminus Part 2.
Yeah. But yeah, so Daryl lied and said everybody was okay.
Yep.
And I don't know if I mean, I suppose he's expecting her to stay out there and not be part of anything ever
He's respecting
anymore.
that
Right,
she wants
sure.
to be by herself.
Yeah, I understand
while
why he did
protecting
it.
that little bit of innocence that she still has, that little bit of herself that she still has. Maybe because he lost or almost lost his
Mm,
through being imprisoned at the
yeah,
sanctuary.
yeah. So, Mike, do you think Carol inevitably is going to be in this fight?
Oh, there's no doubt. Uh, you know, I, me and my wife were having this weird conversation. I was like, maybe he didn't tell her anything because he's gonna go with Richard's plan. Like, because maybe he recognizes that there's gonna have to be some hard choices made, and that's one of them. I don't know.
Oh, there's
But
no
some,
way. The way he
some,
threatened Richard,
yeah, I mean, that's just him being emotional. But I mean, once he starts thinking about it, who knows?
Yeah, but he went, yeah, so he talked to who was he with when he was sitting there with Shiva?
Morgan.
Oh, Morgan, that's right.
Morgan.
Morgan came in and he's like, you've got to convince the king to help us.
Right.
And he's like, it can't be me. I can't be responsible for the killing and the deaths and blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't know. Something is going to happen that is going to galvanize the kingdom into fighting. I just don't. At this point, it could be there are a couple powder kegs ready to blow. I just
Right.
don't know which one it's going to be. Whether it's going to be the Carol thing, or whether Morgan's going to convince them, or whether it's going to be on their next exchange. Boy Squire gets a little more aggressive in his defense, and they kill him.
I bet it'll be a Carol thing.
You think?
Yeah, I do. But so Richard was trying to basically set these traps, lay these breadcrumbs to get the Saviors to find
Right.
the cabin
Mhm.
and go after Carol. Carol will probably outsmart them or let them fall into her trap and maybe put out a walker that looks like her, causing Ezekiel to think that they killed
This is some
her.
deep speculation right here.
I know.
I think if anything with Carol, I think something will happen to her, and she'll go to Ezekiel and convince Ezekiel because Ezekiel will listen to her.
Yeah.
Ezekiel will clearly has a soft spot for her.
Mhm.
So I think inevitably it's going to be Carol convincing Ezekiel to get into the fight once she finds out about Abraham and Glenn. That would be my guess.
But
And go ahead.
we're not going to find out for a long time because the rest of the season is about Rick finding guns.
Rick finding guns and
Oh.
what's happening with the at the Savior camp.
So now hold on. Something I thought was really interesting was that comment he made to Tara. You've been out the farthest, you know.
At least where not to
You can
look.
tell us where not to go.
Yeah.
And
she kind of had a kind of look
so
on her face, like, ooh, boy.
You think she's gonna tell him?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. I think so, yeah. Maybe she'll be out on a run and she'll go and plead with him. And where the fuck is Heath? God damn it. Justice for Heath. Hashtag justice for Heath. That's all I want to know.
I'll tag that this time.
And hashtag don't kill Jerry.
No.
Because Jerry's awesome.
I like Jerry.
That would be pretty bad if Jerry bit the bullet. Maybe that's what eventually gets King Ezekiel to fight, is they kill lovable round Jerry. But yeah, so I maintain the fact that I wish there were more people to introduce to Shiva, because her and Daryl's interaction with each other was pretty cool. And of course Daryl makes friends with the tiger because Daryl is fucking awesome.
Right.
What can't Daryl do? But yeah, I'm interested to see, because next episode, will probably be all with
Eugene
and the Saviors, which is fine. I haven't had a dose of Negan in a while, and I definitely enjoy him. But yeah, hopefully this episode was kind of slow. I thought not nearly as, usually on the second half they start picking up speed. I think this one slowed down a little bit.
That's true.
But hopefully we'll get some more momentum going next week.
I'm surprised we saw that same group 2 episodes in a row.
I know.
That's kind of going against their format.
I know. But we'll get a new group tomorrow, and or not tomorrow, next week. But yeah, unless you guys have anything else, I think we'll probably end it right there.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to end it.
All right. Well,
What
I
do
know
you think, Mike?
I agree.
All right. Well, thanks guys for listening, and again, you can hop on our Facebook page, Cross Platform XP. We'll try to put a link in the YouTube if I remember, or if you remember.
It's there.
Is it? Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So yeah, hopefully we will see you guys next week. And for me, that one, Heath.
Gordon Mills.
Mike?
We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.